Welcome to LMP Talks Wrestling. If you're new to the podcast, welcome and thank you for taking the time to tune in. While you're tuning in, though, if you want to hear your voice on here, just send me a PM or a DM on any of my social media. You can hear that at the end of the show, or you can hear it now. Lotus Moon Productions on Facebook. You can find me on SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions and Lotus Moon Prod on Twitter. But that brings me to my guest of the hour. To those that are new, once again, I have a new guest on every week to discuss anything wrestling related. So without further ado, I'm happy to announce I have a new guest this week. Please help me welcome Gareth. How's it going today?
Hey, it's all good. How are you?
To tell you the truth, I'm doing well right now. This isn't wrestling related, but my slow cooker was on overnight. And I woke up this morning to my apartment smelling delicious. So in terms of how I'm doing, my nose is on a cloud.
That's when you know you've reached peak adult, is when you've got yourself a slow cooker and you put something on in the middle of the day and then have it ready in the evening. You've reached peak adult at that time.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's beautiful. Like I'll go to bed and I'll put the slow cooker on, and then when I wake up, poof, it's done, and it's like yay.
I've never done it that way. I always do it in the morning. I always put it on before I go to work, come back, and then I've got like, here's a curry or here's a chili ready for me. It's brilliant.
I love slow cookers. The peak of adulthood. You are right. Oh my gosh, but I'm also excited to dive into this wrestling chat, especially with the Rumble behind us and the surprise that happened, and I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, Santino Marella, that was absolutely crazy. I can't believe he came back. I was out of my seat.
Oh my goodness, that was the talk
Sorry,
of the
spoiler.
hour.
Sorry, that was a bit of a spoiler there.
Yeah, that was the talk of the hour. So, but honestly though, there's just so much to talk about. So where do you want to begin? It's the Rumble, Raw, AEW. Let's talk, man. Where do you want to go?
I think you've got to start at the Rumble, really. That was probably one of the best full pay-per-views I've watched in a long time, and definitely made it worth the 6-hour slog from 10 p.m. till 4:30 in the morning our time over here. It was definitely made it worth it.
It turned out to be one of the best Rumbles that I've seen in a long time, and I don't want to be biased towards that. I really enjoyed myself.
Definitely, from start to finish, like the Roman match was just a load of fun. Like it was just a laugh, and it was almost very chaotic. Like if you watch, like when they were jumping into the crowd, and you just saw security guards running through, barging people out of the way, and the cameras struggling to keep up with them. It was a bit chaotic. It was just brilliant. They need to do more shows in the like baseball stadiums. It just adds an extra sort of element to everything. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was very different, and I'm gonna retract something I said too, even the night of the Rumble. Me and a group of friends were watching, and I looked at the Rumble, and I was like, "What is this stage? There's no stage." I'm really, really saddened by this because in the past the Rumble has had fantastic stages, but I get it. They're in a baseball stadium; they can't have that sort of stage, so that's why. So, and it did add a certain, there was different TV angles, and it had a different feel to it. And you're right, that match was chaotic.
Yeah, it's just like the little things, like seeing the ramp from the hard cam. It just, I don't know, it just made things like just ever so slightly different. It was interesting just to see it. In fact, I've just put it back on in the background now, just to remind myself. Obviously, yeah, because they seem to come out of like what would be the dugout. I'm guessing. I don't know whether that's where they all come from. I've watched a little bit of baseball, but I've never watched loads. But they seem to come out of like where the baseball players would come out, which I think is quite a cool little thing to have.
So putting the two Rumbles aside, out of the 6 matches that we did see, I think it was 6 matches. What match besides Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin stood out to you?
Bryan Fiend, like it was almost slightly uncomfortable, but in a I can't turn away from this uncomfortable.
Bryan's back, man. That
exactly
was...
like
oh.
He's got one of them bodies that just shows battered and bruised and welts. Just really shows him. I remember when he did like the Rumble out in Saudi when they had that, and his chest just Red Raw, it was absolutely destroyed. And I say from this, like all those women from the strap, like his body shows it up really well. When they just added to it, it just really felt like slightly uncomfortable watch. But I also just couldn't turn away.
It was kind of gruesome in that fact, but I really enjoyed it. But I'm going to say in the future that if two people are going to have a strap match, that both people have to expose their back, because as I recall, the Fiend has a shirt on. So
yeah,
I don't think the strap's going to hurt him as much.
I also do wonder, was it vegan leather?
It's vegan leather.
I feel like Brian may have. I feel like that's something that Brian should have fought for, a bit of vegan leather in that one.
It was a good match, though. I really did enjoy it.
No, definitely. It's probably one of my favourite theme matches, especially because there was no red light. You could actually see it.
Now, I actually thought that looked better.
Which, with the red light or without the red light?
Without.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, it looks far better. The Fiend looks, like, creepier and scarier without the light.
I completely agree.
I don't understand why it was ever there. Like, it just gave me Sin Cara vibes from back in, like, 2015.
Yes, the yellow and blue light that shone, or that shined down from the ceiling.
Nobody ever wanted that, so...
No. I don't even think Sin Cara wanted that. Just no.
I'm hoping that it's gone for good, like, but I just get the feeling that they only didn't do it because it was a baseball stadium. There was no way they could have lit everything in red.
Well, let's hope they took the hint and they're not going to do it anymore, because the audience seemed to react positive.
Yeah, it's got a lot of... That was like the biggest sort of hint from the entire thing was, there's no red light. Brilliant. I can actually enjoy this match.
So, since we're on the topic of the Fiend, in your opinion, where does he go from here?
Where do I think he's going to go? What I want for him are two different things, because I think we're all sort of under the impression that he's going to Mania and Roman Reigns is going to slay the Fiend and put himself at the back of the top of the card again. Not really what I want to happen. I just want him to go on one heck of a streak. I don't think it's right this time for it to take the title off him. I mean, personally, I didn't think it was right to put the title on him to start with. It was not much of an attraction to come out with. He didn't need the title. And now they've sort of got themselves a bit of like a booking hole as such. They've got that title on him now. It's going to be how you get it off him. Because I think you can sell Fiend matches just on the spectacle. You don't need him there. You don't need him to have that title. But now he's got it. It limits who it can be against, because you've got to have someone who's built up to go against him. But soon, somewhere down the line, he's got to lose it, and that's just not going to be a good moment for anybody. I think whoever takes it off him is just going to get booed out of probably WrestleMania.
At this point, WWE has done what I've asked, and let's face it, they don't do that very much for me. Yeah. I don't mean to be picky, but you know, I asked for the Fiend to win the title. He won the title. He's kept the title, and now he's it's looking like he's going to keep the title to at least Mania, and that's all I asked. I was like, if he can keep the title for at least 4 to 6 months, keep it till Mania, and then lose it, that makes him look strong, and he can lose it to Roman Reigns, or he can lose it to John Cena. Like, they can still come up with a couple of people that have, quote unquote, wronged him.
Yeah, I mean, Cena's a great shout, like, because there's always been that thing of Cena coming back to get that 17th title.
Exactly. And he's never held the Universal title before.
That's true. But also in the same breath, can you just imagine the reaction if Cena wins at WrestleMania?
I would be like, it doesn't matter who beats the Fiend as long as it makes sense. And there is a story there with John Cena. Hell, if Daniel Bryan even came back into the picture and beat the Fiend, that would make sense because there's some history there. So like at this point, I've been very, very happy with almost everything that's come from the Fiend, and I'm in the Hell in the Cell thing. That's the thing I'm not very happy with. But
No,
it
I
was
mean that was just. I don't
yeah,
even know what they were thinking.
yeah. But luckily though for us, it was all rectified, and for the yeah for the most part, I'm really really happy with how far the Fiend has come. They completely revamped Bray Wyatt's character. He's become the champion. He seems dominant. He's different. It's fresh. So yeah. And even if he does lose, he can go somewhere else afterwards. He could start somewhere new. Hell, the Undertaker could face the Fiend because there's history there. So I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here you could throw the Fiend into.
I have got an interesting theory that what is inside Eric Rowan's cage, and I've got a theory it's Rambling Rabbit,
Oh yeah,
and that's somehow how they're going to link him back to the Fiend.
but he's
Sort
on
of,
Raw though, right?
in Superstar Shake-Up. Where's the bring back the what was it? Bring back the wildcard rule. Or they could just drag it out until after Mania and then he switches over, which they've dragged it out for 3 months already or so. So what's another 3 months?
Well, to be fair, I mean, at times we have freaking Sami Zayn popping up on Raw saying that he's a manager there, a manager's license to go back and forth, and then we have Angel Garza popping up on Raw from NXT last night, and now we
That
have.
was interesting as well, yeah.
I mean, at least Charlotte has a reason going down to NXT, but she's gonna pop up on NXT and she's from Raw, so I mean.
I was going to say, you seen she's been announced to go down to NXT on Wednesday.
Yeah, if I mean if they oh wow, whatever. But anyway, yes. Like the fact that the Fiend has gotten that far and that there's so many possibilities, like out of the Undertaker or Roman Reigns or even John Cena, or is there somebody else that you'd want him to face at Mania, or do you want to see Roman Reigns versus the Fiend or
Right now, I don't want it to be Reigns Fiend. I just don't feel that's the right position for it. For some reason, I just don't get that connection between them. They seem very, I don't know, just something about it just doesn't seem right. They
Okay.
could create a brilliant story and that ties me straight in. But right now, for some reason, there's just something inside me that just doesn't connect them very well. I don't know, there's just something there. I'm just like, But they have got that Shield Wyatt family history, so they've got history there. But I think Cena's probably. I could see if you play Cena, he's got to win. He's got to beat Cena at Mania to get that redemption back from what was it, WrestleMania 31, 32?
I honestly can't remember, but I just remember that they had a feud.
Yeah, and because that was seen as the moment Bray Wyatt's career started to go downhill. From when he lost to Cena at WrestleMania, that's it. That was like the start of the end for him. So I think if he does fight Cena at Mania, he's got to go over, and then Cena can pop up whenever and just he's John Cena. He just does what he wants now.
The question that I'm wondering is, we now have Brock Lesnar's opponent for Super Showdown in 3 weeks,
Yes.
which is Ricochet, which is totally out of nowhere. But who is Bray Wyatt going to face? Because it's certainly not going to be Daniel Bryan. We all know his history and his opinions about Saudi Arabia events.
That's true, yeah.
Who is going to face him?
Well, they started building Kane, didn't they, beforehand, and we know Kane's not sort of adverse to popping out to Saudi. So when you get to
maybe
a big doesn't he get normally like a big payout from WWE to like Knox County? Then they make a big charitable donation to the county every time he goes out there.
I think so. I mean that is a good shout. Kane is a good possibility.
So they started building it up and never really paid anything off on SmackDown with him. So that feels the most Saudi show to me. That just seems the most like that is the match you put on a Saudi show.
Okay, because we still have to plan an Elimination Chamber too, because Elimination Chamber is going to be defended, or I guess, see, uh, in this case scenario, I don't know how they're going to book this. They could have an Elimination Chamber match on SmackDown with just 6 people who determine who's going to face Bray Wyatt at Mania.
Yep.
Or Bray Wyatt could be one of the 6 people and defend it inside Elimination Chamber.
I think the first, I don't think he's going to be in the chamber.
Yeah, I actually like the idea of that better, because that makes the Fiend a little bit more of a mystique.
I think you might sort of have like the match, and then you get a bit of a Firefly Funhouse at the end of it, with sort of the Jumper Bray Wyatt having his little moment and saying congratulations, but you won't be so happy when you meet him, kind of thing, like afterwards.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that kind of thing happening, but it's who do you put in it? That's the thing. I don't know who you'd put in at this point. Like, I couldn't think of 6 people on SmackDown that have sort of built up enough to go into there now.
Yeah, I mean, if John Cena's going to lose, then he could totally fill in the quote unquote legend spot for the Super Showdown now. Like the special appearance for somebody down there. Like, I mean, Goldberg's coming back on Friday, but he's not gonna clash with the Fiend. I'm pretty sure, because there's no history there. I'm pretty sure.
That's true. I mean, why is Goldberg coming back other than to pick up a Saudi paycheck? Like, I've no idea. Like, I got so confused when I saw it on on Twitter, whatever it was yesterday. I was like, what? Why? Like, what is the reason? I mean, we'll find out on Friday, but why?
I heard there was a rumor that it possibly could be Sting, and I was like, what? Sting? I'm pretty sure he can't wrestle.
Yeah.
Plus, he's like in his 60s, and I'm like, oh, why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep putting people who are just, I'm not saying past their prime, but just don't wrestle in that heat when you're that age. I wouldn't do it if I was that age.
Because it's all about that real feel.
But I mean, whatever. I'm not them. I can't speak for them. So just don't pull an Undertaker Goldberg moment, and be careful.
Yeah, I don't know what the temperature is like out there at the moment, but I suppose if it's February, surely it can't be anywhere near as bad as last time. Because wasn't last time like June? Then it was.
You know what? That is a possibility of why they got rid of Fastlane this year. They may have learned from their mistakes of going out there when it's hotter.
Well, I'd heard that they got rid of it and then they just had a slot for international events, and then all of a sudden Saudi were like, "Yeah, we want it," and they're like, "Okay, well, there we go." But whether if Saudi didn't want it at that point, where they would have gone with it.
That's really interesting.
Because they decided, oh yeah, we're going to do more international events, and they've done one other, and they did the Australia one. They've not done any other international big events anywhere. So,
well, the fact that WWE is keeping us guessing with the Fiend is actually a good thing. So we have some suspense there. We're not going, oh, well, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. We do kind of have an idea that Roman Reigns is going to be the end goal at Mania. That is the rumor. But if it's not, though, I mean, that's a surprise in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that Drew won it. So you never know. You just pull out a surprise. And
before we talk about the winner of the Rumble, which is Drew McIntyre, let's talk about that surprise in the Rumble, in the men's Rumble.
I mean, to be fair, you've timed it perfectly, because just as you say that, Vontavious Porter has just walked out on my screen in front of me.
I'm coming.
Seeing Brock do a little jig, like.
Oh my god, that was priceless. Actually, that was good.
I like. We'll get to the big surprise like at some point, but Brock, like, as much as sometimes I can't stand him, he was brilliant in the Rumble. It was absolutely brilliant.
You know what? I have to say that he was. He absolutely was. I was really worried. I was really torn when I first heard that Brock was going to enter the Rumble at number 1, and he was going to go through it all, and I was like, oh my God, no. Oh no, oh no. But lo and behold, he got out in the middle of it from actually a really clever way. Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and then kind of makes sense that Ricochet is facing him at Saudi Arabia, I guess, in a sense. But I mean, it all turned out well. Drew McIntyre eliminated him, and he was entertaining in the Rumble.
My favorite.
Like, who did he hug? Who was it? Oh my God, Shelton Benjamin.
Shelton Benjamin.
That was priceless. Like,
my favorite bit with those is just his facial expression when Keith Lee came out. It was just like, damn, he a big boy. Oof.
He didn't even know who Keith Lee was.
He was like, who's this big boy? Oof, yeah. Jeez, that's a lot of beef.
Yep. Oh my God, that was good.
That was my favorite part, just seeing his expressions. Because I immediately popped anyway. Speaking of Keith Lee, he's just come out now, but like I popped big style when Keith Lee came out, and then it's just Brock's face, like, oh damn, he a big boy.
Bask in his glory.
It's just a brilliant. Since they changed his theme to this new one, it's fantastic.
Oh man, I'm loving Keith Lee. Like, I don't mean to get sidetracked with NXT, and we can totally talk NXT soon. But oh man, the fact that he's North American champion now, I like this. Eventually, he'll lose it, and I want to see him in that world title picture. But the fact that he's got that mid card, it's a perfect place for him.
Yeah, he needed something because everyone was very down on him initially because he came in and just got beat a lot. Never really had anything big going on, and then all of a sudden, he's just shown the star he can be and tore it up. Ever since like sort of Survivor Series, he's built his way right to the top. Now he could easily go on to Raw or SmackDown and jump straight in at the top of the card now, just from these two interactions, the one with Roman at Survivor Series, the one with Brock here at Rumble. Like, he can get a call up and he'd be straight at the top of the card.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for absolutely sure. He's amazing in the ring, and the fact that he can do things that he can do. Oh man, what was I think maybe 6 months ago, maybe longer. I'm trying to think. Like, just the name Keith Lee just came out of nowhere. It seems from my point of view, and all of a sudden I heard the buzz, and I looked, and I found out who this guy was because I was keeping up with NXT, and. Yeah, he's just amazing. I love watching him. The audience is behind him. I cannot not be bored. If that makes sense. Like, it's just he's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I love how we don't want to say too much credit, but I love how the bask in his glory chant has sort of made its way over from here over, and it's one of those ones that transitioned very well.
Yeah.
Because over in Britain, we can just put any chant to Seven Nation Army. Like, we'll just put any set of words to that, and we'll run with it. So
I have noticed that a lot, which is it's quite amusing.
Yeah, it literally any event, any football, wrestling, even darts. We will put someone's name or some sort of chant. Seven Nations Army. It's just what we do. But I'm really glad that it's managed to make its way over.
The United Kingdom crowd is quite passionate, aren't they?
Yeah, it's. I love watching the Raw and SmackDown when they're over here, or any sort of the UK takeovers and stuff, because the crowd gets so into it and they come out with some brilliant chants that just makes me laugh so much.
When I've tuned into NXT UK and I've watched all the takeovers. And but every time I've tuned into NXT UK, the crowd is just loud as can be. Like, it's almost like watching AEW, because it's just like the crowd is just like, as you said, making up chants, just going, and they're just so involved. It's really good to see.
Yeah, that show. I mean, the wrestling on there is brilliant as it is.
Oh, it is.
The crowd just make that show even better. Just create one heck of an atmosphere. It's absolutely just fantastic to watch.
I've actually become a huge fan of Mark Andrews and Webster. Uh,
Nice.
those two would crack me up. I just love them. I love Mark Andrews comes out, he does the little hand thing, and I'm just, oh my god, I love it. And yeah, I freaking love them. And then there's a couple others on there who have become a fan of. Travis Banks, Trent Seven,
Tyler Bate had three of my favorite matches in the last 2 years.
Tyler Bates, another one. Yep. I mean,
He,
Pete Dunne came from there, but now he's on the other NXT.
yeah, I mean, Bate done from Takeover Chicago, I think, from a couple of years back. That's one of my favorite matches of the last few years. Then you got Bate versus Walter and Bate versus Devlin from the Takeover UK just gone. Like, they're three of my favorite matches from just the last few years. Like, I don't know how Tyler Bate is so talented at the age of, what is he, 22, something like that. I don't know how he could be. I mean, he's a big, strong boy, as the UK crowd will let you know. But I just don't know how he's so talented at that age. It's amazing.
I completely agree, and I actually just wondered this last night. I was looking at some ages for wrestlers, and something blew my mind. I just started watching New Japan Wrestling in the last couple of years, like a lot. Like I kind of caught it once in a while, but now I've really been paying attention. And the age thing just reminded me of Will Ospreay. He's only 26 years old, and
Really?
yeah, only 26. And I'm like, how the hell are you this amazing in the ring? Like, one of the least top 5 best wrestlers in the world currently, and you're only 26. Holy hell. Like, Kenny Omega is labeled one of the best wrestlers, and he's in his 40s. So, I mean,
I also feel like Will Ospreay's just been around forever. Like,
I know. Like, he's only 26. I'm pretty sure that's what I read. And I'm like,
yeah, I've just Googled him. That's crazy. The fact he's only 2 months. He's 2 months older than me.
yeah, like I'm 30, and I'm like, I'm older than Will Ospreay. Ew.
Look at that going. He's 2 months older than me. What have I done with my life? and he's selling out the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's 22 years old, and then like the fact that a lot of wrestlers at that young age now are just coming out and just knocking it out of the park, home running it every single time, knowing skills that people don't really learn until they're mid-30s, or like coming in and knowing how to crack a promo and knowing how to gather an audience at such a young age. You know what I mean? Like it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. At the moment, we're hitting this sort of peak generation now, where the guys who are learning now are like mid-teens. They've sort of grown up watching your Omegas, your Ospreys, your Zack Sabre Juniors, Okada, all those kind of guys. They've been watching them, so they're learning the stuff from those guys. Which it's just making a sort of a snowball effect of great wrestling. I say, when you go back sort of 10, 15 years, it's been the guys learning then what they've got to look at. They've got to look at The Godfather and Val Venus. And like, no disrespect to those guys, they're obviously great like characters, but the wrestling back then was completely different. So over time now, it's like, it's just a positive thing, which I can only just see getting better and better and better.
You make a good point, and that also reminded me of like the Young Bucks, who are also labeled one of the greatest tag teams of all time. They learned a lot of their wrestling from watching the Hardy Boys growing up. So, when the Hardy Boys were growing up, they learned from other wrestlers, and they imitated them, but they also added their edge and their risks, their personalities. But then here come the Young Bucks, who now watch the Hardy Boys growing up, and they imitate the Hardy Boys, which are already edgy, and then they add their edgy craft to it to make it their own. And now you have the Young Bucks. And now at some point now, you're going to have somebody who's a teenager watching the Young Bucks, and they'd be like, who'd you grow up? Who did you idolize? I idolized the Young Bucks growing up. And they're like, oh, wow. So, they're going to craft that even better and make the Young Bucks look like Wow. Like, that's where wrestling is right now.
It is great to think like 10, 15 minutes, 10, 15 years time, you're going to have someone there and you go, oh, who was your wrestling inspiration? And they go, oh, it was Adam Cole. And you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, it's an interesting point as to at what point are we going to start, are people going to start sort of almost forgetting about the sort of the legends we have at the moment? Like, at what point do sort of people start forgetting maybe about The Undertaker? Do they start forgetting about Ric Flair? Like, it's crazy that there's something that can happen. I mean, I find it crazy that, because I'm one of them, the very few people that have not actually taken a break. It's very controversial that I've actually watched it now for 16 years. I'll be at WrestleMania.
I don't mean to cut you off, but thank God I've actually met another person who has never taken a break.
So it was like, oh, everyone has their break, and I'm like, no. I mean, like, I've slowed down, but never stopped. Like, I've slowed down when I've just literally had less access to it, but I've never truly stopped. I've always like kept up on it. But yeah, WrestleMania 20 was my first WrestleMania, or first sort of big event, and I got that on DVD not long after it would happen. So it was about May 2004. And just been sort of hooked ever since. I was very lucky to get to go to the first time they taped Raw and SmackDown in the UK.
Oh, very nice.
I got to go to that, which was incredible. The pyro scared the living bejeebus out of me. Like,
that's awesome, man.
Like, we were sat very close to the stage, so every time pyro went off, it was Rob Van Dam's pyro that got me more than anything. That went off and it properly jumped out of my skin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like, it's crazy that I said 16 years, and the fact that the people that I have grown up watching are now considered legends. Say your John Cena's, your Triple H, your Randy Orton to an extent. The guys that I grew up watching are now considered as legends. It's kind of strange and surreal, but also, yeah, it's just one of those things. It's crazy to see now.
When I was a kid, like 10, 11 years old, I was watching Raw, and I was looking at Shawn Michaels was one of my favorite guys growing up, but I also loved Jeff Hardy, and I also Triple H. I hated him at times, but he was fantastic at what he did. And there was a bunch of other ones, like your Chris Benoit back then, and your Edge Christian, the Dudley Boys and all that stuff. Like there was, but I always wondered back then, these young guys that are coming in, like when Randy Orton came in with Evolution. I was like, Triple H is the kind of the leader. He'll go away in 10 years and Randy Orton will be here, and which is now the case. And when I was a kid, I was like, who's going to be the replacement for all of these guys? What am I going to be watching in 10, 15 years? This is when John Cena first came in. And like John Cena came in 2003, I think it was, or 2004. And Kurt Angle was around that time too. And there was The Rock, Stone Cold, of course. Like I loved all those, but who was going to replace them, right? And now you look at where everybody is, and it's like, oh, these are the guys that are replacing that generation. Like again, you have your Will Ospreay, who's 26 years old. At some point, you're going to have a teenager imitating the hell out of Will Ospreay, and then showing Will Ospreay, I can do it better than you.
So, I mean, not to go off tangent, but I've literally pulled up the results from Raw from the 2nd of February 2004.
Oh, yes.
And we've got Chris Benoit defeated Mark Henry.
Yeah.
With Teddy Long as Mark Henry's manager.
Oh, yes, yeah, I remember that.
Rico defeating Rene Dupree.
Rico, oh my God, Rico.
Goldberg versus Kane. Booker T, Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
Triple H defeated Spike Dudley.
Yep. That's when Spike Dudley was getting all up in Triple H's face.
Just Batista and Ric Flair defeated Chris Jericho and Christian. And,
yeah.
And Shawn Michaels defeated Randy Orton. Like,
yeah.
Everybody
like I just said. See, look at that. See. Oh,
it doesn't
man.
feel like that was like 2 minutes ago that those guys were all in the ring, but then you think actually that's 15 years ago, 16 years ago even now.
Yeah, that's incredible. And now we're gonna look at that 15 years later and go, oh wow, Charlotte came out on Raw and talked about Rhea Ripley, or we had what all happened last night. Becky Lynch and Asuka, they had a clash, but they're gonna face next week. Oh yeah, the Viking Raiders and the Authors of Pain with Kevin Owens and Buddy Murphy, they fought each other. So I mean, if in 15 years from now we're gonna look back at that and go, February 2020.
In
That's the
15
Raw we
years,
have.
in 15 years, are we going to look at Viking Raiders and AOP in the same way we're looking at Chris Jericho and Christian and Ric Flair and Batista?
That is yeah, and that's the question, and that's the promotion's job to, it's not just the promotion's job. I mean, people have to act and be charismatic, but at the same time, they also have to be given a chance.
Mm.
Yeah, it's crazy. But let's talk about that big surprise. Of course, in the Rumble, Edge returns. How did you react?
I'd heard about it through the day, and so I was semi-expecting it, but I also wasn't expecting it. And I'll tell you what, you have got one really weird knack of timing here, because as you've mentioned, that Edge had just popped out, and the goosebumps have just literally gone through my spine again. It was just a crazy moment. Like, it actually took me a minute to realise, because it's sort of you think you know me happened, and I sort of just went, wait, what? Like, it just took me a minute to realise what was happening. It's one of those, like, as people can say, and oh yeah, he's going to come back, but until you physically see it and you realise the importance of it and how sort of a big moment it is, it's crazy. Oh, and as a heads up, they have actually edited the network version now, so you do see Edge coming and spear Dolph Ziggler, not the crowd shot that you actually had at the Rumble.
Yeah, but the look on his face when he came out of that smoke, he was the look, like you could see the look of relief and the look of sheer joy and happy on his face. It was just beautiful to see him in that sense, because I mean, he was an incredible heel, an incredible face, incredible heel, incredible wrestler. He was just a fantastic character all around. And 9 years ago, when he was forced to retire, and the fact that he was allowed to come back after all this time, the look on his face, like it said so much.
I'm not afraid to say that I when he had to announce a retirement, I got emotional at that point. There's only I think there's only really been 3, maybe 4 events that have properly got me. That was, the first one was Eddie Guerrero passing.
Oh yes.
Because I was still young at that point, and Eddie Guerrero was like one of my favourite wrestlers, and it sort of just caught me in shock. There was Edge's retirement, Daniel Bryan's retirement, and Roman's leukemia. Like, those are the 4 moments that properly choked me up. So to see him come back, I say, is absolutely incredible. Like, it is just true what they say. Just never say never.
Never say never. Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here and worry for him either, because I mean, he's a big boy. I mean, he's he's in his 40s. I'm sure he knows the risks. He understands what he's doing. So I'm not gonna sit here and be scared for him when he lands on his neck or something like that. He knows what he's doing, and as long as he's okay, I mean, he's not injured, but he's injured for the storyline right now. But as long as he believes that he can do this for the next 3 years, because that's the contract he has, I think 9 or 10 matches lined up for the next 3 years, and he has a part-time contract. But as long as he thinks he's fine, I'm not going to sit here and worry over him.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can say you probably won't worry about him. I feel like it's still going to be subconsciously something there, and it's probably going to make these matches more almost intense, because you're going to, although in your logic sense, the mind, you're going to go, there's no way he would have been cleared if it wasn't fine to do so. But then you take the DDT and you go, ooh, the neck, ooh, the neck. I still do that with Daniel Bryan matches. Like, anytime you take some sort of impact to the head, I'm still like, just like, because they've got that history, it just adds that little bit. So.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I can't do it anymore. there's too many wrestlers who have such injuries, and I'm like, oh no, don't do it, oh no. Oh, but if I can't. If they all understand the risks, so I'm not gonna sit here and worry for them.
No, I mean, like, that sort of emotion that everyone has, though, played in so well to the storyline on Raw on the following night. Like, without that history of that injury, I don't think the whole fact he's going to be off telly now for a while would be anywhere near as believable.
Yeah,
and it properly paid in there, because I think everybody watched it and was like, no, don't do that, no, don't watch his neck. Like, going, like, I don't know what the thing is, but people come back from a neck injury and they just, none of this ease you in, just go straight back for it. Concerto to the head for Edge, and then when Daniel Bryan came out, just throw him against an announce table. I was like, no, put easing them in, just throw him straight at it. But
look at Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah, they definitely play into that whole. They've had this injury, and everyone is going to have a slight sort of every time something happens to the head or anywhere near that. There's going to be like, everyone's going to wince that little bit about it.
What do you think of the feud with Edge and Randy Orton?
I thought it was done really well, because it got me, because when it happened, I was thinking, in my head, I'm going, oh, okay, yeah, so they'll have a little bit of a reform. They'll maybe get to Saudi, have a match there, then Orton will turn on Edge and we'll get that at Mania. So I wasn't expecting anything on that night. I was just thinking, oh yeah, they'll come up and then the turn will come down the line. I was expecting Orton to turn on Edge at some point, just maybe in a month or so. So when I'm thinking that, all of a sudden he just hits him with the RKO, and I'm just like, wait, what? Like, literally an RKO out of nowhere. And it properly got me, and it was brilliant. I think that's one of the sort of invested I've got, because I just wasn't expecting it. You can predict as much as you want, but when you don't expect something to happen, it's kind of why we watch this stuff. We go for those moments.
Yeah, you're right. We do, and I agree. I'm really happy with the way this feud is going, and the fact that Edge staying off TV. It's selling the injury. It's selling the storyline. Randy Orton now. How do you feel about Randy Orton coming out last night and just pretty much saying nothing for the first 15 minutes of Raw?
I thought that was really good. Like, it was one of those, like, what can you say? But also, it's like, it's just cementing that heel turn. It's similar to, like, when Roman came out to beat The Undertaker, just sitting there and just letting the crowd go at him. To then say one line, just for Orton to come out, let the crowd go at him, and then just walk away. But it almost had, like, he had that, what's the word? A bit of conflict in his mind. Like, maybe he did have a bit of remorse to it as well. It was really interesting. You could really read into it and take a lot from saying absolutely nothing. Which, to me, it's really good storytelling, surprisingly, just from saying nothing at all.
I don't mean to be a downer, but I haven't been able to get behind Randy Orton for a long time, and I needed something from that promo last night, and I understand that it drew good heat, like the proper heat, like he came out kind of like the Roman Reigns Undertaker, but the thing there was the Roman Reigns wasn't going heel. He just came out and the audience booed because they didn't like the result of the match. Roman Reigns was just like, deal with it. Like, this is my yard. And that's all he said. And Randy Orton being so, I guess, sympathetic or showing compassion or showing he's been closer to other people in the past and not acted this way. And I mean, I guess maybe I'm lost on the connection. Like, I understand that they had rated RKO, they were a tag team, but I watched that tag team and I'm pretty sure they weren't as close as they're acting right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's for they have to tell the story, but I mean, like, rated RKO was for me was relatively sort of early on in my sort of watching. I mean, if I say early on, I think it's like 3 or 4 years in, but it's still really when I was really into it when I was younger. So they do have that connection together, and because when I was growing up, like Rated RKO's theme tune was one of my favorite entrance music going. I used to have it on. It was my ringtone for quite a while when I was in school.
Nice, man, nice. The only loss of connection though that I have is that I don't know why people are like surprised by this, because it's Randy Orton. He's always been labeled as pretty much chaotic, sadistic, the Viper. You can't trust him. And all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, Randy, why?" And I'm like, this is Randy Orton. It's like asking an evil person why they do evil things. It's like, are you shocked? Like, so it's like, that's why I'm not like, I was like, come on. Like the reaction I'm getting from Orton isn't the character that's been told. And I guess that's where I'm lost.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised it happened. Like, I knew it was going to happen at some point. I was just surprised it did it so quickly. I thought they might build a bit of RKO, like Rated RKO, sort of for a little bit first, but to do it straight away, it's probably a better move as well. I think though, because I think that's the only way the shock factor came in, because they didn't, like you said, it wasn't really played up until this week, the actual relationship between them. This week they went video package heavy on it. They were, I think, video packages every sort of 10 minutes on it says what Rated RKO were like. This is when they won the tag titles. It's like they were going as if they heard response going, "Oh, we don't really know much about them back then." They go, "Oh, well, here's a little video package to see what happened." And I think they've had to try and sort of backtrack a little bit, but yeah, I think the shock for me was definitely more the timing, and we're still on that high of seeing Edge come back. Like, it drew me in and just took that moment it just took a moment and like, what? So I can always get behind Orton as a heel because he's a far better heel than a face.
Absolutely, I agree.
So I am excited for this because just Orton's best work when he's a heel, and if it was, I think because it's Edge, I think that's why some people are into it, just because it's Edge, and we've still got that sort of he's back kind of feel. So I think that's probably why I'm really into it still. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see till it's ruined in Saudi, probably.
Well, whether it's Saudi Arabia or WrestleMania, I'm excited for this feud. I'm happy that Edge is back, and Randy Orton is a perfect starting feud for the next 3 years that we get to enjoy Edge's returning career. And with that, we will wrap things up. Do you have any social media that you want to share?
Not really. I'm very much a nosy person on social media. Like, I will follow a lot of things, but I don't often post stuff. Although if anyone wants to follow my Instagram, it's just I've recently changed it, so you're gonna have to give me one moment because I can. G.Jones.15. I just post pictures of various different places that I've been to.
No, that sounds good, man. Thank you very much. I'm gonna do Elvis impressions up in here. And thanks for coming on, Gareth.
No worries.
I'll definitely have to have you on again sometime.
Definitely.
And thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice in here, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'd love to hear you. Simply send me a PM on any of my social media. You can find me on SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. So this has been LMP Wrestling, and we're signing off.